What's good, everybody, and welcome back to another Siege tutorial. In today's video, we are packing 10 years worth of Siege experience into a 10-minute video where I give you guys some real tips to rank up that you probably haven't heard before. Whether you're new to the game or a top 500 champion, anybody can benefit from these tips. So without wasting any time, let's get started. First up, one of the most important things in Siege is playing with intention. Every single match you play should have a goal, whether it's mastering a new operator, improving your aim, or learning map callouts. Focus on one or maybe two things maximum at a time. This is going to help you track progress and gives you a purpose every single time you load up the game. Remember, aimless playing leads to aimless results. The absolute worst thing you can do is just play thousands of ranked games without actually having a goal in mind. So being objective and locating your weaknesses is essential. Then from there, all you have to do is play with that goal focused in your mind. For example, if you suck at getting headshots, then you probably should work on crosshair placement. Now, every single time you load into a match, whether it's ranked or practice, having that intentional thought that you're working on your crosshair placement is going to help you keep your crosshair up and get more headshots eventually. In addition, playing with this intention also means constantly evaluating your performance. After each match you play, just sit back and reflect on whether you reached your goal or not. If not, then think about what went wrong and how you can adjust your strategy the next time you play. This continuous loop of setting goals, executing, and then reviewing is the key to consistent improvement. Next, do not play scared. Fear is your biggest enemy in Siege. It's super easy to be a hesitant or nervous player when you're playing this game, but remember, if you die in game, you do not die in real life. It's literally just a game. Swing with confidence, take calculated risks, and be assertive. Fearless players dictate the flow of the game and will always get more kills. But it's important to remember that playing without fear does not mean playing reckless. It's more about calculated aggression, knowing when to push and when to hold back. And this confidence only comes from experience and understanding the game. And the more you play with this mindset, the more natural it will be to make these bold yet smart decisions. One key to overcoming fear is to get comfortable with failure. Understanding that dying in game is actually a part of the learning process. Always review your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. Use them as stepping stones to improve. Over time, you're going to find your confidence is growing and you're starting to become more comfortable in situations that used to make you nervous. No lie, the first time I loaded into a ranked game when I started playing Siege against a professional Siege stack, I was actually very nervous. And shortly after that, I've hit champion almost every single season. And I'm not saying that to brag, it's just about putting yourself out there and having the confidence to improve. Tip number 3 is train with a focus. Identify your weaknesses, whether it's aim, game sense, or map knowledge, and train specifically on those areas. Use tools like aim trainers, custom games, and VOD reviews to hone your skills. Focused training always turns weaknesses into strengths. Additionally, it's really important to be patient with your progress. Improvement in specific areas takes time, so don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Stick to your training plan and gradually you'll start to see yourself improving. Remember, consistency is more important than intensity when you're training. Another strategy to use if training is overwhelming for you is to break it down into manageable chunks. Instead of trying to improve on everything at once, just try to focus on one skill at a time. For example, dedicate one day to practicing your crosshair placement and the next to map callouts and maybe the next practicing your quick peeks. This way you'll see steady and noticeable improvement in those areas and you won't feel overwhelmed. Next is understanding and using the changing meta. Siege is a super dynamic game with operators, strategies, and gadgets consistently changing. You should be staying updated on the latest patches and changes and updating your playstyle accordingly. Knowing the meta is always going to give you a strategic advantage against your competition and keep you one step ahead. Siege is currently at a place meta-wise where you actually need to be good taking gunfights. So even if you're not John Wick with the pistol, having the correct loadouts and gadgets to support you to make gunfights easier for you is super essential. Furthermore, adapting to the trends doesn't mean just following them, it also means innovating within them. Try out-of-the-box strategies that leverage the current meta in different ways. Sometimes the best way to counter a popular strategy is to try something unconventional and it'll catch the enemy off guard. It's also crucial to understand that the meta isn't just about operators and gadgets, it's also generally about how players approach the game. So make sure you keep an eye on how the community evolves in terms of tactics and strategies. So being able to predict the enemy's moves based on trends will give you another layer of strategy and depth in your gameplay. Next, we have to talk about accountability. Blaming your teammates will not make you a better player. Instead, just focus on what you could have done better each round. Reflect on your mistakes and learn from them. Taking responsibility is the first and most important step to improvement. A high school basketball coach once told me a mistake or a loss is always the fault of a better player, which means if you're confident in your abilities and you think you're good at the game, it's always your fault. And this is actually a really good mindset to have if you want to improve and win more. Also, fostering a culture of accountability can also lead to better team play and synergy. Encourage your friends or teammates to also focus on self-improvement and not just point fingers at everybody else. When every single person on your team is accountable and committed to getting better, I promise you guys will play better and win more games. And another aspect of accountability is realizing when you've made a mistake and being open about it with yourself and everybody else. Admitting your errors publicly and being able to own up to when you made a mistake just builds trust with your teammates. And here's a secret. People are going to notice and talk shit less when you're the type of person who always owns up to when you did something wrong. Moving on to the next one, and it's actually very, very important, and it's take breaks. Siege is a brain game that can be intense intense, and playing for long stretches can lead to frustration or burnout. So make the easy decision and just step away when you're feeling tired or exhausted. A fresh mind always leads to better decision making and keeps your mental game strong. And in addition to taking breaks, consider incorporating other activities into your daily life that can help you keep a clear mind. Whether it's a different hobby, physical exercise, or just hanging out with friends, maintaining a good balance between gaming and other aspects of life will always make sure you have a clear and focused mind. And most importantly, remember that Siege, like any other game, is meant to be fun. If you find yourself getting overly frustrated, just remind yourself of why you play the game in the first place. You should be trying your best to enjoy the game and the process of improvement, even during rough patches when you lose 5 games in a row. We all have that one friend that when their mental is chalked, they also ruin the mood of everyone else in the party. Just continue learning yourself and what works for you so you can continue to keep your mental in check. Moving on to learning different peaks and mechanics. To thrive in this game, especially at the higher ranks, you're going to need to master psycho peeking or AD peeking and other mechanics associated. These small but skillful mechanics can give you a huge advantage when you're playing against other good players. On top of that, constantly seek out new tactics and techniques to add to your gameplay. Siege is a game of micro skills, so the more you master, the more versatile and deep your bag will be. So spend some of your time watching high level players and take what they do and then try to adapt it to your own playstyle. Being able to swap between a gadget and a weapon and being able to move and execute smoothly are all under the giant scope of mechanics. But don't forget that just like anything, learning new mechanics takes time. Some things you're going to get immediately and some things are just going to take you longer. So don't get discouraged if you don't master a technique right away. Use tools like training grounds and custom games to practice these techniques until they become second nature. And once these skills are ingrained into you, you'll be able to execute them smoothly when the pressure is on when you're playing ranked. Now let's talk about aggressive versus passive playstyles, and they both have their place in Siege. The skill that best players have is always knowing when to flip that switch. If you're always passive, you may miss out on opportunities or get punished by an aggressive player. And if you're always aggressive, you might get a few kills, but you might also throw the round for your team. Learn to balance both approaches so that you become a more well-rounded player and also keep your enemies guessing. To take this further, practice reading the flow of the game to decide when it's time to be passive or aggressive. For example, if your team has a man advantage on site, it's probably time for you guys to start pushing aggressively. And conversely, if you're at a disadvantage, it might be more beneficial for you to wait for the enemy to make a mistake and then make your move. And just pay attention to how the other team is playing. If you notice they're playing passively and sitting in sight, you could probably get aggressive on them and get a couple kills. In contrast, if you're playing insane flicky-leany players who just run into sight every time, playing passive can probably get you a couple free kills because they'll just walk into your crosshair. So adapting to your opponent's behavior and playstyle can give you a super big advantage when you're playing ranked. Next is something that every single person should be doing when you're playing this game, and it's play with a stack. Stop solo queuing and team up or find players to play with who you trust and have similar motivations as you. Communication and coordination are keys to winning in Siege, and playing with a stack reduces the risk of you playing with trolls or people who are horrible at the game. Playing with a stack also allows you to practice and refine specific strategies. You can coordinate operator picks, practice site setups, and execute some tactics you probably wouldn't be able to do if you were playing with random people. And this level of coordination can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing a game. And beyond that, playing with a consistent group of friends can allow you guys to develop a sense of chemistry and synergy. You learn each other's playstyles, habits, and callouts, which can give you a way bigger advantage against other teams. Also, don't be afraid to reach out to other players. If you play with a random who's pretty good or seems chill, just send them a message or ask them if they want to keep playing. The worst thing they could say is no, and you just keep going and trying to find other people to play with. And last but not least is a non-Siege related tip: sleep well. Your health directly affects your gameplay. A well-rested mind is sharper, more focused, and less likely to tilt and get chalked when you're playing. Don't underestimate the power of small things like a good night's rest. In addition to that, try to maintain a healthy lifestyle overall. Regular exercise, a good diet, and drinking a lot of water can keep your mind sharp, and you'll be able to play for hours. How you treat your body directly affects your in-game performance. The best players that you watch on YouTube or in Pro League all have a routine that works for them. In Siege being mostly a mental game, you want to make sure your mind is as sharp as possible. And understand that sleep and your health are long-term investments in your gameplay and in your life. But over time, a lack of sleep can actually lead to decreased focus, slower reaction times, and increased frustration. And prioritizing your sleep and health is going to ensure you're always playing at your peak performance, whether you're playing in a casual game or trying to push for the next rank. And that's it for you guys. There's 10 years of Siege experience packed into a 10-minute video. If you found these tips helpful at all, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Comment down below you guys' rank and platform and what tip you think is the best one that's going to help you guys get to the next rank. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you can stay updated with my videos for more tutorials like this. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.